Look at the glass of water sitting next to you right now. You didn't think about it this morning. You didn't ration it. You didn't fight for it. You are perfectly hydrated in a perfectly controlled room, and you haven't thought about water once today. Now strip away the wall, kill the air conditioning, drop the water supply to zero. You are now standing in the ancient Sahara, 10,000 years ago, during the Great Aridification. The rules of your existence have just completely rewritten themselves. In this world, water is not a resource. It is the only thing standing between you and a death so specific, so biological, and so methodical that scientists still study it today. Because in this world, your body will begin to fail within 48 hours. Not from predators, not from starvation, from the simple, catastrophic absence of the thing you never once thought about today. Let's see exactly how far you make it. You've survived your first morning. You think the greatest threat is the animal tracks you spotted at dawn. It isn't. The greatest threat is invisible, relentless, and already happening inside your body right now. In temperatures exceeding 50 degrees Celsius, your body burns through water at an apocalyptic rate. Standing completely still, doing nothing, you lose up to 2 liters of water per hour. At 5% water loss, severe fatigue collapses your judgment. At 10%, your physical coordination fails completely. At 15%, your blood thickens into a sluggish, toxic sludge. Your heart has to beat violently just to keep you conscious. At 20%, your brain begins to swell against the inside of your skull. A hunter named nothing in any history book woke up healthy at sunrise. By midday, he was tearing off his own clothes despite the sun blistering his exposed skin. By nightfall, he was offering to drink his own blood. This wasn't madness. This was the precise, documented biological sequence of terminal dehydration. And in the ancient desert, it happened every single summer to someone perfectly healthy who simply ran out of water one day too soon. When the rivers turned to cracked mud and the rain hadn't fallen in 3 months, a hunting party finally brought down a wild herbivore at the edge of the dry basin. They didn't go for the meat. They went for the stomach. Archaeological evidence and documented tribal practices confirm what modern humans find almost impossible to stomach. Hunters would immediately slice open the animal's rumen, the first chamber of the digestive system, and extract the half-digested, rotting plant matter soaked in gastric juices. They would wring it out like a wet cloth, and they would drink the warm, putrid, bacteria-saturated liquid that dripped from it. It was foul. It was dangerous. It was liquid. In the prehistoric desert, that calculation ended the debate instantly. If the animal was small, or if they didn't reach the stomach in time, they went to the vein. Drinking raw animal blood before it coagulated in the sun was not a ritual. It was an emergency protocol that every member of the group understood without being told. There was no room for disgust. In a world where the alternative was death by dehydration within hours, the body's revulsion response became a biological luxury they simply could not afford. A young woman in the group understood something the others were still learning. The sun was not a weather condition, it was an apex predator, and you cannot fight an apex predator. You can only hide from it, so she stopped moving during the day entirely. Entire populations of prehistoric humans reversed their biological clocks, becoming fully nocturnal, emerging only after sunset, hunting by starlight, foraging in darkness, and disappearing before dawn like phantoms. But the darkness alone wasn't enough. During peak heat, moving at all meant burning water the body couldn't replace, so they dug deep trenches into the sand, reaching the cooler, unbaked earth beneath the surface. They buried themselves alive, covering their bodies with dirt to insulate against the roasting air above. Researchers believe some groups went further, coating their skin in thick layers of mud, animal fat, and urine, creating an artificial seal over their pores to trap moisture inside the body and stop the process of evaporation. They lay there, motionless, in suffocating darkness for 12 to 14 hours, waiting for the star that was killing them to move to the other side of the world. When it finally did, they emerged, and they ran. On the 7th night of movement, the hunting party smelled water before they saw it, a shimmering pool at the base of a canyon, an oasis. In modern mythology, an oasis is a sanctuary, a paradise of rest. In prehistoric reality, it was the most dangerous coordinate on the map, because they were not the only creatures dying of thirst. During periods of mega drought, every desperate, starving predator within 50 miles was forced to the exact same shrinking puddle of muddy water. Giant hyenas, cave lions, packs of wild dogs operating on the same lethal logic. Drink or die. Take a single sip, early humans had to walk directly into a concentrated killing ground and drink shoulder to shoulder with animals that hadn't eaten in days. But the animals were not the darkest threat at the water's edge. Anthropologists have uncovered mass graves near ancient dried-up water sources, skulls shattered by blunt force, spearheads embedded in ribs, entire families massacred, not from hatred, not from territory, but from the brutal arithmetic that there simply wasn't enough water for 2 groups to survive. Human warfare was not born from politics or greed. It was born at the crumbling edge of a muddy, shrinking sparkling pond, when a father looked at the water and looked at the strangers drinking it and made a calculation no modern human wants to make. A boy who had been walking for 4 days without enough water began to hear something on the 5th morning. A river, rushing, unmistakable, completely real. He turned toward it and walked for 2 hours before collapsing. There was no river. The human brain is mostly water. When dehydration reaches critical levels, the brain physically shrinks, pulling away from the skull. The resulting neurological collapse produces hallucinations so vivid, so sensory, so completely indistinguishable from reality that ancient humans chased them to their deaths. They heard rivers that didn't exist. They saw forests on the horizon. They spent their final calories pursuing sounds and shapes that evaporated the moment they arrived. To survive the mirage, you couldn't rely on your senses anymore. So prehistoric desert peoples did something extraordinary. They encoded survival into music. A song was not entertainment. It was an encrypted map telling you exactly how many dunes to cross, which rock formations concealed hidden groundwater, which plants were poisonous in drought conditions and which were life-saving. The melody kept you moving when your eyes were lying to you. The rhythm was a countdown to water. If you forgot the song, you followed the mirage, and no one ever found you. You were sitting here in a controlled room with clean water within arm's reach, because every single one of your ancestors walked through that blazing purgatory and survived, but they left something inside you. Have you ever noticed that the sound of rain against a window instantly calms something deep in your nervous system? That the sound of a running river drops your heart rate before you even register what you're hearing? That is not a preference. That is not a personality trait. That is an ancient biological reward signal, hundreds of thousands of years old, firing in a brain that was built in the desert by people who understood that the sound of flowing water was the only absolute guarantee that tomorrow was not the day everything ended. Your instinct to seek shade, your exhaustion in extreme heat, your irrational comfort at the sound of rain. These are not weaknesses. They are the precise survival mechanisms that kept your bloodline alive long enough to reach you. The next time you turn on a faucet and watch clean, cold water pour into your hands without effort, without violence, without a 7-day march through the dark, look at it for a moment. You are holding something your ancestors killed for, something they drank blood to replace, something they buried themselves alive underground just to preserve enough of it to see the next night. The 0.1% who survived the ancient heat weren't exceptional. They were the ones willing to do what no one else could stomach. And somewhere in the architecture of who you are, so is that willingness.